I'm Katrina Eaton, second daughter of Mike Schuetz, who is the 11th sheriff, and I have David Schuetz, who is the first son of Joe, who was number 8. And I just wanted to ask you a little bit, share some stories about Joe and your mother Barbara, who have both since passed. But I mean, I remember visiting you guys and spending time with both of them at the reunions and at your house, and would love to hear some more about them.
Yeah, really don't know where to begin. There's just lots of crazy stories. Dad always had the sense of humor. Yeah, it's a sense of humor. Mischievous at times, and I think we've all kind of inherited that. So we're kind of. I think that's one thing that we really definitely keep up with in our family is playful digs at each other, and I know I got a lot of that from Dad. Just keeping everything happy, keeping everything light, keeping everything very relaxed and enjoyable.
Yeah, like not taking life too seriously, having fun.
Yeah, and yeah, that's just one manifestation of it. But that's exactly what it is. It's just we're keeping things fun.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And I was reading that he was a big outdoors fan and liked to go camping. Did you guys do camping trips? Like, where did you normally
Yeah,
camp?
we used to do a lot of that.
Like tent camping, or did you have a camper?
Well, yeah. So Dad would do on his own. Dad certainly did lots of outdoorsy things. I mean, he wasn't like an outdoorsman, but he enjoyed being in the outdoors. He would go hunting a couple times a year with friends and things like that. But then with the family, we would go camping. We had sort of a father-son program and father-daughter program that started off at the YMCA, and then we kind of just splintered off. We said, we don't care about the formal program. We'll just stick with these people together. So we had just these little groups of fathers and children, and we go camping a couple times a year with that. So probably from I don't know first or second grade through to end of elementary school at least. I go camping twice a year with these kids and their fathers, and then that carried all into high school. We would go skiing. We rent a cabin up at a lake in Northwest Maryland and go skiing there. And then he did the same again with Laura and with Brian. Similar things with multiple camping trips.
How was your mom? Was your mom a camper too? Or
Well, and then we would camp as a family every now and then, maybe half a dozen, not even half a dozen times. I don't know how many times we went as a family. Not as much. She, I guess, she probably tolerated the camping. But we enjoyed that.
Do you think your dad did he ever talk about that love of outdoors coming from something particular in his childhood, or was it just how he was? It was.
I don't think so. I think it was just an appreciation for it. Maybe a certain amount of it is enjoying the solitude of it. I've only gone hunting once in my life, and that was with him and his friends, and it's a lot of time just walking around in the woods in silence. And I think that's probably what he enjoyed is just the peace and quiet of it. I know at home, after dinner, a lot of times he just kind of walk around the house and just see what's going on around the house, look into the gardens and plants and stuff like that. And it's probably also an excuse to smoke. But I think he's always just enjoyed that kind of peaceful solitude out in nature.
Was he a quiet person? I don't remember. I mean, I don't think any of the Schuetzes are necessarily quiet people, but
well, he could be very loud when warranted. Certainly, he had the voice, but no, I mean, I think he was generally pretty quiet. We could all be fun. We could all be, boisterous and silly. But I think in general, he kind of just sort of sat and watched.
A peaceful person. Yeah, that's good. And so, how did your mom and dad meet? Do you know?
They met, I believe, through roommates. So Dad was at college at Marquette with Bill Berger, and Mom was at college at Catholic with Carol. I don't know what her main name was. And then Bill and Carol met somehow or other. I guess Dad and Bill had both moved out independently to the DC area. And so I guess Bill had met Carol and they started dating and introduced Mom and Dad.
Okay. Yeah. So, and then, so they had you, Laura, Brian, and when you eventually got married and had, I guess, did you have the first grandchild?
No, Laura did.
Laura
By
did,
about
okay.
2 years, I think.
Did you see a change in your parents when that happened, or?
I don't know. Dad had already died.
Oh, okay. So
He died in
never got
1998,
to
so then he never got to see.
Oh,
Uh,
okay.
and then mom, I guess maybe a little bit. She was. You kind of fall into the stereotypes of grandparents. The grandparents are going to spoil them and do all that. And they were always rigid with you and oh, don't do that, or you shouldn't do the other, or stop the other.
Your
And
grandkids
I'd
get
be
away
saying,
with it.
yeah, Dominic, you should stop that. And mom's like, oh no, he's all right. No, he's not all right, mom. He's causing trouble.
So true.
Yeah.
It's so true. Yeah, it's like, and then they become the kids in a sense because they're, all rules out the window for them and for your kids,
Yeah.
and suddenly, it's anarchy.
Didn't quite get to anarchy. There was definitely a much more willing to be flexible with the rules. I think once she had the grandchildren around.
Okay. Yeah. Anything else you can think to share about?
Yeah. Well, back to the outdoors. We talked a little bit about camping with the family, but we also just liked going places. And we did a few vacations that were sort of destination vacations. Like we went out to Mount Rushmore and saw Mount Rushmore in the Badlands. You're driving around, you get to overlook. You look, oh, Black Hills, they're cool. All right, everybody get back in the car now. And we're all, impatient because we're 10 years old or whatever at the time. But we also did, multiple, maybe not every year, but we tried to do every other year. We'd go out to either the Outer Banks of North Carolina, and we would tend to get a house or hotel kind of more isolated, so you're not like on a boardwalk like at Ocean City or something like that. Or we would go to Deep Creek Lake. Again, I mentioned the skiing up in Northwest Maryland. There's a lake called Deep Creek, and we go there in the summertime for a week. Just get there's just a small hotel on one corner of the lake, and we'd rent a boat, and we'd go driving around the lake, and sometimes doing some water skiing once we all got a little bit older, but just, again, being outside, just enjoying it. And again, it wasn't about athleticism or sports or things like that. It was about just being out and about, seeing the water, being on the water, being around the nature. We really loved all that, and I think we all got an appreciation for any of that kind of woods and water and ocean, all from mom and dad.
So you grew up where?
In Bethesda, Maryland, just outside of DC.
That's where I visit. Do you ever remember coming back to Sioux City to visit with all your dad's relatives?
Yeah, about every 3 years or so we would come out here. It was always a long trip, so we would basically drive and we'd stop by my mom's parents in Ohio, and we'd stop in Chicago, maybe with Jim and Joanne, or maybe we'd push on to Minneapolis and stay there with Jim and Carol, and we'd end up. So it was always a 2 or 3 days worth of driving to get out here. But yeah, we'd come out here maybe about every 3 years. It was a lot of fun. Yeah. And then the Rapid City trip to Mount Rushmore was, we flew out and then drove out to Rapid City, spent some time out there, and then drove back here and spent a week here. And I remember one time staying at grandma's, and a bunch of us are all sleeping on couches in the main living room, and all the adults are upstairs. And I think there was a camper out front and tents out back. I think it was our family and your family. I
remember, and maybe Jim
and Carol's family.
Yeah.
And
maybe some
might have been,
I
don't think any of that. But I think it was mostly just our three families that tend to do a lot of those.
I do remember.
I remember I probably had 9 or 10 kids.
Did the little plays down in the basement? She had like all the little dress up stuff, wasn't it? You're talking about on McDonald's Street?
Here. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
I remember that. I remember stuff in the basement. I mean, to this day, if I go in an older basement,
Candyland
and I also there's just a sort of a mustiness to old basements, and I'll go down one of those and I'll think, oh, it's grandma's basement again.
Yeah. Didn't she have like the powder room upstairs or something? Like a little swivel stool. I remember that for some reason.
Maybe.
That was probably more something the girls were interested in. Otherwise.
All right.
All right. Thank you, David.
Great. Thank you for doing this.